Okay, so let's get back into our working on our pinyin. Okay, so now we just finished up I's. It's time to move on to our next vowel, which is U's. Now, there are actually two types of U's that you will encounter in pinyin. One is just a normal U, like what we're used to, and then there's another one which has two dots over the top of it. These two dots are called an umlaut. And you don't need to know that, but you will see a U with two dots over top of it. Now these two are pronounced differently. The first one is pronounced just like a double O, like ooh, oh wow, look at that, a double O, ooh. And then the U with the two dots over top of it is a unique sound to pinyin. It's not one that we make consciously. We do say it, and I'm going to show you how to say it, but it's not one that we find in words that we use very frequently. It's not a standalone sound that we think about, but we can find it in English. And the way that we say it, the place that we use it in English is actually at the front, the very front, like the first 5% of the English word you. If you think about the English word you, it starts with a E almost, a Y sound, and then transitions you all the way to an oo sound at the end. So these two different types of U's actually live, so to speak, at opposite ends of the English word you. So for just a regular U, we're looking for the very end of the word Y-O-U, you. If you listen to the way that I say the word you, I'm going to stretch it out and make it really exaggerated for you to listen to. So the word you, do you see how when my lips come together, you hear me go ooh, like that? That is how we will say just a regular you in pinyin. It's like ooh. So let's try it again together really quickly, okay? I know this may seem a little different. It's a bit of a unique set of sounds because they're a little flatter than what we're used to saying. So we need to get, and this is something that we're going to encounter a lot across most of the speaking that we do in Mandarin, to go from the English sounds that we're used to get to the proper pronunciation for sounds in Mandarin. We have to take what we're used to saying, and generally we'll have to kind of chop off the front or chop off the back or squish them in a little bit. And so this is a great exercise to illustrate that. So we say you, and we think of that as just being one quick syllable that we say all the time. But actually there are two sounds that live in that we need to individually pull out. So the first one, E, let's just say you together, okay? Say it with me twice. You, almost like you're playing with a little kid, talking about what it's like going up and down a roller coaster. You, like that. I know it's a little silly, it's a little funny, but these sorts of things are actually really helpful for getting us out of our own way. The purpose of us being here is having fun. So let's go on that U roller coaster one more time. I want you to listen, and ideally I would like you to try this with me, but I want you to listen to the different sounds that I traverse over the course of this word, okay? You. And you hear how everything in the end gets kind of locked in my mouth with the ooh sound. Ooh. I'm not projecting it out. Everything stays within my cheeks and I'm vibrating it. It just kind of like bounces around my cheeks. Ooh. If it sounds very muffled. That's the U sound, okay? That muffled ooh is how we say regular U. And then the E sound, you hear at about the 10% mark of the word you. That's how we say the U with the umlaut. So it's you. Now, this is going to take practice. That second U, the U with the umlaut, is going to take practice. I know it is because it took me and virtually all of my classmates probably 3 or 4 months to get comfortable fully distinguishing between these two. So I'm going to say them both for you right now a couple times. Just a regular U first, 3 times. Ooh, ooh. oo. Again, it's close. I'm really pinching my lips together. It's muffled. And then I'm going to say the U with an umlaut, okay? It's U, U, U. So those sounds live at the opposite end, at the end and the beginning of the English word you. They're different than what we're used to, but we need to memorize them. So again, we have a regular U, which is U, and we have the U with an umlaut, which is U. Okay, with that out of the way, I can now take you through the different vowel combinations and core sounds and endings that we're going to run into that involve these two. First, let's just start with the regular U, the one pronounced like oo, okay? Oo. So, as we went over, just a regular U is a double O sound that's very muted. Oo, 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 okay? I don't know exactly where we can find a perfect example of this in English because it's so muted. It's almost like you're just shy of closing your mouth completely when you say it. So it's not ooh, where in English, the way we say it, where you can hear it projecting from my chest and my throat. It's very closed down, almost like I'm about to close my lips completely. Okay, so ooh, ooh, ooh. Great job. Now the next one, using a regular U, is UA. And that is pronounced like wah. Like, wah, no way, I can't believe it. If we think about it, how do we get there? It's oo and ah. And then we just bring them together very quickly. Wah, wah. I'll keep speeding it up so you can hear it. Ooh, ah, wah, wah, wah. See how that happens? We keep shaving down the ends a little bit and we get to what sounds really like a W-A-H for us. Again, the A is like we go to the dentist, open wide, ah. And when we tack a U in front of it that we just bounce off of very quickly, it becomes wah, wah. Now, in actual words in English, we can think about, oh, wow, that's a nice watch, W-A, watch, or hurry up, go wash your hands. And wash is it's a little farther away, but really a wrist watch is the best way to think about that. Wah, watch, wah. Okay. Great job. Now we have wah. Now we're going to go U-A-I. Now we remember A-I is pronounced like a long I, like me, myself, and I, the first person pronoun in English, just a long I. Now add U in front of it and we get Y, U, Ah, E, the Ah, E, I, and then Y. Again, we keep shaving down that first U and it becomes a W sound. Why? So U-A-I is pronounced like why. Like, oh, why do we have to go there? It's said like the English word why, W-H-Y. So, oh, why do we have to go there? Again, we ate there last week. U-A-Y, or U-A-I, excuse me, is pronounced like the English word why, W-H-Y. Oh, why? Why? Okay? Now, U-E-I is the next one that we'll run into in a proper Pinyin chart. The spelling for this in words or in syllables will change a little bit, but this one is pronounced like way, like no way. It's pronounced like the English word W-A-Y. No way! That's great. So way, 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 okay? No way. I'm really happy to see you. I didn't expect you to show up. Way. Great job. Okay, now we have to move down to U-O. Now U-O is actually pronounced the exact same way that the standalone O is pronounced, with sidewalk, coffee, chalk, that wa sound. It's just it ends up here because of the way that certain syllables will be pronounced and written out. So this is just the way that the Pinyin system works. If you see U-O, you're just making that exact same sound that we make with the regular standalone O, which is wa, wa. Okay? W. So let's just remember that. We already know how to make this sound. UO is said exactly the same way that a standalone O is said, which is sidewalk, coffee, chalk, wa, wa. Great job, great job. Okay, now we have UAN. Now, AN, remember, is un. We've practiced this one a lot. This is pretty straightforward. A is going to the dentist, open wide, say ah, we had an N. Okay, un. Now we add the U in front, which we've seen we shave down to more of a W sound. So it becomes one, 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 one. Remembering first tone is the sing-songy tone. We want to keep practicing this because this is how we set our vocal register for when we're speaking. Okay? Also known as we just want to get comfortable speaking a little bit in a little bit higher of a pitch than we use in English day to day. So one, one. Okay, great job. Now we move on to UANG. Once again, we just remove the N ending and put an NG in there instead. So where we had one for UAN, we have wong, wong, wong. And one thing I want to point out here, I probably could have mentioned this a little bit earlier, but it's particularly pronounced in wong and similar syllables that you'll run into. The NG and the N endings in Pinyin are unvoiced and they're soft endings. So if we see an N or an NG in English, the way that we use those and pronounce those is we really hit them pretty hard. We run into them pretty hard when we're speaking. So if we say an ANG, like wang, like the way that most people would think to say W-A-N-G is they say wang. If you hear the ng, the NG, we continue to voice through it and hit and add a little bit of sound after we're done saying the NG. That's the way it's pronounced in English properly. In Mandarin, once we get to the NG sound, we immediately stop vocalization. We stop making sound. That's the proper way to do it. And this is going to be one of the hardest parts of going from new in Mandarin to starting to sound more natural and more practiced, getting towards sounding like a native speaker. It's learning the little corners of each syllable and each word that don't call for voicing, that call for a little more breath, things like that, which is what we'll get into when we go over consonants that we add at the front of syllables. AN and ANG, so one, I'm not saying one, okay? One, like we say one, you'll hear that little n. Very rarely do people say one and then just stop it. It sounds like that's kind of lazy pronunciation. And song, if I say, oh, nice, let's go sing a song, you hear the ng at the end, which kind of comes from our nose. It's a bit of a nasal sound. We don't want that for Mandarin. We don't want that at all. That is something that's going to be, it's just not the way things are pronounced, but it's also going to be, it's a habit that we have coming from English that we have to forget. Because if we use that while we're speaking with native speakers of Mandarin, it's going to distract them. So just want you to remember, wang, NG endings, as soon as you get the ng, you say the NG and you hold it for a little bit, but then you stop. You stop voicing completely. Okay, wang, and you hear it tail off. And same thing with one, and you hear my voice just tail off. That's the way we want to do it. Don't want wang, and we don't want one. Okay, so it's wang, one. Okay, so with our N's and our NGs, we want to make sure that once we hit those endings, we stop voicing. That's going to take a little bit of practice, but that's the way we need to make sure we pronounce it. It helps with flowing into our next syllables and our next words that we're going to be saying in whatever sentences we're working on, but it's also just the correct way to pronounce things. Okay, so bit of a side road there, but uang, wang, making sure that we stop voicing those ng endings. Okay, the n and the ng endings. One, wang. Okay, not one, wang, one, wang. Okay, great job. Okay, so un is a bit of an exception to this series of u core sounds that we're working with. It doesn't make an oo sound, really. The way that we say it, it's almost like you take an English W, w, and you roll right into an N sound. It's wun, wun, wun. You'll see I barely open my mouth, and it's just w and going right into n, wun, wun. And take your time with this one. This is unique to Mandarin. I couldn't think of anywhere that it exists in English. If you can think of something, I would love to hear about it. But this one takes practice. This is one that, because it's so short and it's just so different from the sounds we're used to making in English, which are big and broad and honestly kind of loud, which is not a bad thing. It's just the way that we learn to speak when we're speaking English. So W to N, wun, wun, wun. It's very short. Everything happens right in the front of my mouth. Wun, wun. Okay, now, last one for U's. U-E-N-G is pronounced like the way we had W-E-N, one, one, one. Sort of like the English word 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, but we take the N off and we tack an NG on, okay? Wong, 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 okay? Wong, wong. This one you won't use very much, but it's good to practice it nonetheless. We just need to know how to make all of these sounds. And again, remembering the NG sound, we don't want to bounce off it hard, okay? It's not wong, no ng. We don't want any of that ng sound. Wong, wong. You hear my voice just stopping at the end of that syllable. Wong. Okay, great job, everybody. We are almost done with all of these core sounds. We just have to go through the U with an umlaut coming up next, which again is U, which we find at the very kind of the 10% mark of the English word you. And there are only a few in that section. So once we get through that, you'll be done with all of the core sounds of Pinyin. And frankly, once you get through this, you will be done with the hardest part of learning Mandarin. The hardest part of learning Mandarin is learning tones and learning how to pronounce Pinyin. That is the hardest part. This is all of the framework and all the foundation that you need to go forth and speak with people. Once you have this down and once you get this into your brain in a way that it's reflexive and subconscious, and most importantly, in a way that you find fun and you enjoy doing, then really that part of the world is your oyster. You can go out and you can make as many friends as you want. The most important part with all of this is having fun. I don't care how hard you work at it. I don't want you to think of it as work at all. I want you to just be here, enjoying the new possibilities that you're unlocking for yourself and really enjoying the new friendships that I know you are unlocking, and I hope that you are starting to believe in a little bit with all of the effort you've put in to this point, okay? So we're done with just the regular U, which again lives right at the end of the English word you. It's very closed down. Okay? Next, we're moving on to U with an umlaut over top of it, which lives at about the 10% mark of the English word you, which is U. Okay? Then we'll get going on that one. Great job, everyone. Okay, so we're on to the part with U with an umlaut, remembering that the U with an umlaut is said like the 10% mark of the English word you. So we go through that U roller coaster, you, okay? The end is all the way closed down. The that we're looking for lives just at the crest, kind of at the halfway mark of the letter Y. Okay? U, U. Now, I can't make you magically make this sound. This is going to be one of those sounds you're going to have to just play around with and listen to the way I say it and see how you can match it up. The best thing that I've ever been able to come up with to show people how to make this sound is that U roller coaster. Okay? U, right there. U, right at the top, at the crest as it's starting to turn over. That's how you make this sound properly. Even once you find that, if you can get it quickly, that's amazing. Great job. If it takes you time, don't be discouraged at all. It took me probably an entire semester to get close to approaching having that sound kind of just on tap in my head. Okay, it takes time because it's new. A lot of this is very, very new. So be patient with yourselves, please. As we're going through all of this, your brain is going to need time to just digest this and work it into your speech patterns and again, your muscle patterns. We're building new connections with the muscles in our face, our jaw, our throat for making these sounds. It's not just cognitive, okay? It's actually a physical skill. So when these new sounds come up, we simultaneously have to think about where they live, and then we also are trying to find how to move our body to make the sounds correctly. So with these new ones in particular, but with all of this, be patient, have fun. It's awesome that you're here, okay? Please remember that. All right, so U with an umlaut is U at the 10% mark of the English word you. U. Now, the next one we have after that is U with an umlaut, U, followed by an E. And this is U. So it's that U sound followed by a short E. U, U, U. Okay? Then we have U with an umlaut, U, and then AN. Now, this is one of those instances where A kind of doesn't follow the rules that it had set up for it previously in other syllables. U with an umlaut is U, and here the A represents a short E. So it's UN, UN, UN. Okay? So we had U, and then Yue, and then Yuan. Okay? A is one of those vowels that when you see it in Pinyin, it will take you a little bit of time to really nail down what is this asking for here. And we just need to remember those things. Along with this video and all the other videos, I'm going to give you an entire PDF that you can just look at with all of these cues so you can go through and memorize it. Okay? This is one of those things where it's just going to take reps. It's going to take reps and it's going to take time. And it's really helpful to just go back and listen. Read and listen, read and listen, read and listen. And then just get these sounds into your brain naturally. This is not something that you're going to be able to learn in a month. It's going to be something that you learn in a year, 2 years, 3 years. And I don't want you to be here for just a month. The entire purpose of me putting all of this together is to lay a very solid framework and foundation for you to be able to go forth for a decade or two or more, hopefully your entire life, to go out and use Mandarin to make friends, meet people, and have adventures that you never knew you could. So that's what Mandarin has given me, and I just hope that with my explanations here and the rest of some of the skits and the other things that we can go through together, that you'll be able to find friendship in all sorts of unexpected places the exact same way that I've been able to. Purely through luck, purely through the kindness of other people's hearts. And that's why I love speaking Mandarin, and I hope that you can find that as well. So, back to it. U with an umlaut is U. U at the 10% mark of Y-O-U. U. And then U with an umlaut E is Yue. U with an umlaut A-N is Yuan. And then the last one, U with an umlaut N, is Yun. Kind of like the regular U into an N was one. Here it's Yun. Yun. So one more time we have yu, yue, yuan, yun. All right, everyone, you have done all of the hard work for learning how to pronounce Mandarin. You have done all of the hard part with the core sounds and the pronunciations of different vowels. And now all we have left is to teach you how the consonants that we place at the front of some of our Mandarin syllables, how they work. And really they work very much in the same way that they do in English. There are a few exceptions, but it is not as much of a completely new hodgepodge of sound as everything we've just gone through. So really, you've already learned tones. Remember, first tone is the chorus tone, ma. Second tone is the Scooby-Doo tone, low to high, rising, ma, Scooby-Doo, ma. Third tone is Spider-Man's editor, Jonah Jameson, grumbling at an idea that he's not sure he likes. Ma. Starts low, goes as low as we possibly can put our voice, and then comes back up a little bit higher than we started. Ma. 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 Okay? That one, we just take it as low as our voice can go until it fries out and gets crackly like that, okay? Ma. And the last one, fourth tone, is the tone that may feel like you're yelling at somebody, but you're not. It's just the way that we have to pronounce it. High to low, sharp falling tone. Ma. Ma. Okay, so ma, 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 and ma. Great job, everyone. Time to get on to consonants.